Hey guys,
Welcome to Girl Talk with
R&B.
My name is Brandy.
and I'm Rhonda. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about being a copycat versus not reinventing the wheel. All right, so Brandy, you want to start off and say how you feel about this situation?
So, I've said this before. Rhonda, I talk about the two ends of the spectrum. Y'all have probably heard me say this by now. The two ends of a spectrum, right? In life, two ends of a spectrum.
Yes.
And it's as far as our perspective on things. On one end, you have someone who is a straight up copycat or an idea thief. They take an idea that they know it was not theirs and they run with it. Or they do. So I'm going to age myself, but let's talk about the movie Coming to America, the original one. Okay? You had McDowell's, and he had the blueprint for McDonald's, right? So you had McDonald's had the Big Mac, McDowell's had the Big Mac, right? He was like, McDonald's has the golden arches. He had the golden, I don't even know what that was, right? I don't know what it was. But he literally was taking McDonald's ideas and copying them, right? Then on the other side of the spectrum, we talk about not reinventing the wheel. And think about the idea of going down the bread aisle, right? There's new types of bread probably being created right now, okay? So that's an idea of not reinventing the wheel, but you're putting your own spin on something, so to speak. So you have a straight out copycat, and then you also have people that are inspired.
Yes.
You also have people that like, man, I have the same ideas. Like, I'm already doing that. It just so happened that maybe you didn't release your idea soon enough, okay? Or maybe, like I know someone that before this whole meal prep, like what's the thing? I can't even think when you order the groceries, what you want to, fresh something. But it's like the delivery. You guys, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all probably do it. But basically you say, this is what I want to cook for this week. And then they send you everything, right? Well, I know someone that at least a decade before this became a popular service, she was already doing that thing. And it's just like, wow. So there's not a lot of just like, oh my God, nobody's ever thought of this, right? And so that's on the other end of the spectrum versus, okay, this is what you said we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna take everything that you, Rhonda, you said, let's do ABC. Okay, I like that idea. Now I'm gonna go over and do ABC, but I'm gonna make it like it's my idea. That's the problem.
That's the problem. And so one of the things that you want to do, if you are inspired by somebody, and if you do take their idea and you're using it, especially like on social media, YouTube and stuff like that, you always give that person credit. Always. Because people will be looking and like coming to you like, they copying off of you. Yeah. Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? So make sure that you always give that person their props. Yeah. And even in the description, put their page. Don't allow especially if they're more successful than you, don't let that allow you not to share who they are. Because I've learned in the business, like once you share and you're giving and you're showing other people who are talented just like you get blessed from that. You don't want to hide that type of stuff from other people. So you make sure that you always give them credit.
Yeah, give credit where it's due. And because that's the whole reason that we even have copyright laws. Yes. Because somebody is like, that joker stole my idea. And then you're like, did you have a copyright? They're like, no. It's like, and so I love that, like you said, even if you're getting doing a shout out. I've seen where people say, hey, this was inspired by XYZ. Somebody made, it could have been some meal that somebody kind of put their little spin to it, and somebody was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that same thing. And I've seen that where people are like, hey, this meal was inspired by chef so and so, you know, because people like, and I'm gonna be honest, I've had that one time, and I reached out to Rhonda one time, and I was like, they just copied and paste. I'm like, you know, and my thing is, especially when you have the share button, just share it. But I was like, this person literally just copied and paste, and then, but I was like, no, at least say, hey,
I got this
shout
from
out,
Brandy.
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow.
Yep. Because some people will do that, and they don't see anything wrong with it. So that's why we're here to educate people, to let you know. Like, we're posting motivational stuff all the time. We can see it on somebody else's page. It may not be word for word, or like she said, some people just copy and paste, you know? And some people even will go to the fact of being like, I'm gonna steal this or whatever, copy and paste it, and then post it on their page like it's theirs. Give people credit where credit is due, especially if it's something that's unique, you know. And this, when we're posting stuff on our social media, it's from our heart. Like, this is what God is telling us to post on social media, you know. So don't take other people's works and post it as your own.
Right. So you want to talk about a time where somebody would say you got burnt?
Okay, so as you guys know, I am in the wreath industry, and this happens a whole lot. So I started my business, I would say about 6 years ago, you know, and people would take my ideas. Okay, let me just say this. I'm a teacher, right? So if somebody is in my subscription group and they make their wreath just like mine, I am their teacher. They are learning from me. But when it's somebody else who is also in the wreath world and a teacher, and they steal your ideas and teaching what you're teaching in their, you know, exactly like how you're doing it, or just taking some of your ideas, then it hits different, you know? And so I had to get to the point to where I was just like, it's okay, because people would be coming to me all the time. Did you see what they're doing? Did you see what they're doing? They're doing exactly what you're doing, you know, all the time. And it could be somebody who is not just copying from you, but copying from everybody, taking everybody's ideas and making them their own, you know, and that's not okay. That's not okay at all. And so it had me at one point where I was really down and depressed, like making myself sick because of this particular situation, you know, is that somebody can take your idea, go do it, and then it's totally successful when you're sitting here trying to get 5 people to buy whatever it is that you're selling, you know. So it can be very discouraging, but the thing that I learned about it is to, like we said, we'll talk about it in another podcast, you have to like just stop looking at what that person is doing and focus on you. I think everything will always go back to focusing on yourself.
So we've all are probably familiar with this this expression. It says imitation is it's supposed to be the sincerest form of flattery, right? And so in essence, it's like, well, when someone is trying to imitate what you're doing, that means that they really, it's a compliment. But real talk, for the person that's being imitated, it might not be a compliment. It's like, golly, you know.
So many people would tell me that, including my husband. I'd be like, I don't want to hear that. This is happening too many times for me to be like, I'm flattered. I'm not flattered. Sorry.
Right. And so again, when I say 2 ends of a spectrum, because you may have someone that's like, you know what, I'm doing something really well that people are copying what I'm doing, right? And then you have, again, the other person that's like, well, golly, like, I'm scared to put something out there if I don't have a copyright, because
like, I need to get a patent because, you know?
Right. So it takes me back to high school a long time ago, okay? And so one of my, a friend of mine, and was the parent of the friend, we were discussing doing something for our senior, the football team, right? And so I was talking with the parent, and we were coming up over the weekend with some ideas. And I'm like, okay, on Monday, I'm going to go and present this, because I happened to be, at the time, I was on like the student council or something, whatever. So I went and presented the ideas, and it was crazy, because not only was I not included in the planning, the preparation, this person went and presented this as if it was their idea, versus saying, Brandy brought this idea and it sounds good, maybe we can incorporate this. It was like it was their idea. And it's like, I'm like, no, that me and Miss So-and-so, we came up with this, you know? And again, it's like, somebody may say it's not that serious. And in the essence, hey, but that person knew. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, well, dang, at least just say, hey, I think this is a good idea. Let us go and present it to the people that can help us make this happen. Or, like I said, include the person that came to you.
Include them.
Can you include them in the planning and preparation? You know what I'm saying? Versus you going to the committee and saying, hey, I came up with a great idea. No, you didn't. You didn't. The idea came to you. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, that was high school, and I don't think that I really have dealt with that that much. Like I said, other than when I saw that, I was like, golly, you know, they just took, you know. But yes, in some regards, people are very much, it makes them feel like, oh, wow, I must be doing something awesome that people are out here imitating. Like, or somebody may say, man, I'm really an influencer. Like, I'm really an influencer out here. I got people out here. Somebody may be doing, you know, I'm just going to throw something crazy out. Kool-Aid cucumbers. That's a Kool-Aid pickle, right? Kool-Aid pickle. Okay, let's say all of a sudden somebody's putting whipped cream on their bananas. I don't know, just throwing out something crazy, putting it in the freezer, making it some ice cream, and then all of a sudden everybody else doing it, and it's like, oh wow, when I did this, I didn't realize this was gonna take off. So again, for some, it could very much be, but even then, you'd be like, girl, I saw this idea, girl, Rhonda was on her, she had cut up these bananas and whipped up this, that whipped cream and put it in the freezer. Girl. But again, I gave credit to Rhonda, right?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Give the credit.
Yeah.
So I know a man on social media who cooks food. He is very, very funny. But he gets the ideas from somebody else. So he puts the person that he gets the ideas from, and then it shows what they're doing, and then he does the same thing just to try it out. But he's giving the people credit for what they have done.
Right.
All right. So one of the things too, if you love somebody and you're inspired by somebody and you're studying what they're doing, always take what you like from them and make it your own. Like Brandy said, put a spin on it. Don't copy exactly what they are doing. You know, and Brandy made a good point about something when we were talking earlier, and she was saying that, you know, we are inspired by different people. So both of us, we love Tabitha Brown.
Right.
We love Tabitha Brown, you know. So I get inspired when I see her. Her story inspires me. How long she, you know, took to be able to get to the point where she is now. You know, sometimes stuff just don't come easy, y'all. Right. So I would never take something that she has done and say that it's from me.
Exactly.
You understand?
Exactly.
I would always, if I do something that she has done, I would always give her credit. So you always just give people the credit.
Now, so, and Rhonda and I was talking about this. I started thinking about athletes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where it can get kind of, but I think about the late great Kobe Bryant, right? And we all could probably agree that Kobe was one of the greatest. And Kobe, in his interviews and in his book, he talks about how he would watch, you know, hours and hours of film from some of, I guess,
Michael Jordan, I know
yeah,
for
like
sure.
the Michael Jordans, the you know, the Kareems, all of those great athletes. He would study them. And the reality is, like, there was some of Kobe's mannerisms reminded me of Michael Jordan. The chewing of the gum. You know, we all know that Michael Jordan, and I'm like, I don't know how he out there turning his tongue up, you know. But he would chew gum. Kobe did that for whatever reason. It's, again, some of the mannerisms, sometimes maybe the way they, you know, I don't know, pivot. I don't know, just throwing something out. I'm not a basketball person. But there were a lot of his mannerisms that I could see, like, yep, I could tell he'd been studying Michael Jordan. So that's why I said, again, and I started with the two ends of a spectrum, right? But even with Kobe, he's just like, man, you know, Michael Jordan is one of my, what's the word we like somebody?
Idols?
One of his idols. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a brain freeze.
We be having
brain
farts, y'all.
right.
Sorry.
I blame it on premenopause. But anyway, Michael Jordan was one of his idols. Again, going through all these lists of these great basketball players and that he would study. So of course, when you study something, sometimes it kind of get into you. So going back to Tabitha Brown, and I remember seeing this somebody posted a video about stop copying what people are doing and, you know, be your own self, right? And so, and I was like, you know, but how do you determine also when somebody is copying? Okay, so going back to Tabitha Brown, I got introduced to Tabitha Brown 2020 during the COVID shutdown, like which most of everybody did. But I thought about it. I was like, I remember, you know, doing videos and stuff, doing like little words of inspiration. And so I was doing this before I had ever knew a Tabitha Brown exist, right? Because I know that's part of what God created me to do, right? So, but I remember thinking, dang, I don't want people to think I'm trying to copy. It was almost like going back to the video where we talked about comparison, right? How comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And we mentioned something about when you're sometimes with comparison, it'll cause you to stop doing something that you love, right? So in that regards, I remember thinking like, I don't want people to think that I'm copying, that I'm trying to be the next Tabitha Brown. I'm just being me. So I did a video about this, about don't stop being who you are just because somebody else is already doing it. Again, going back to the bread aisle, I tell people, like right down the street from here, there is a Cane's and there's a Chick-fil-A right across from each other, okay? Go down a little bit more, there's a McDonald's and there's a Wendy's right across from each other, okay? So it's not like they are necessarily copying, but we're kind of going back to, we're not reinventing the wheel. You got IHOP, you got Denny's, they both sell pancakes, you know what I'm saying? So I had to check myself and say, so what you gonna do? Not do what you know God created you to do, because you afraid that people are going to think that you're trying to be like somebody. And I'm like, the reality is Tabitha Brown is not the first person to do what she's doing. She's having some great success, right? So it comes down to, because really comes down to this, you know, like, because you like, I'm just gonna go ahead and you done did a Xerox copy versus you were inspired, like, because I think about another person that I absolutely love is Sarah Jakes Roberts. And there have been times that I have shared a motivational word or whatever, and then I'm listening, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, you know, because again, it sparks ideas, and then it's like, it's not what I said. I might have said it 6 months ago. Somebody, guess what? Somebody said it 6 years ago. It's, you know, because when God is giving ideas, He's not just giving it to one person.
That part. That part.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So, and we all
agree.
have again, like Rhonda said on another podcast about, we all have an audience. We all have the people that we are encouraging, motivating. There may be some people that even to this day, I was talking to one of my ministry sisters, and she was sharing her personal story, and it kind of reminded. And I asked, I said, "Are you familiar with Tap the Rain?" She was like, "I've never heard of her," you know. And so I shared some videos. So again, that this same individual, when I released my book, and so she was like, "Well, I'm not going to read your book." She bought the book, but she was like, "I'm not going to read it until I write my book because I don't want it to sound like I'm copying." I said, "No, go ahead, like write the book. Like if you feel like you don't want to read the book just because you don't want a distraction, that's one thing.
Yes.
But don't like, well, I don't want to read your book because the reality is, I'm not the first person to write about infertility." I'm not the first person to write about taking a leap of faith, leaving my job. I'm not the first person that dealt with, my mom having a crack addiction and writing about that. I'm not the first. So be careful not living in your purpose.
Yes.
Because I don't want people to think that's your story. God gave you a story. It's yours. Share it. Don't say, "Well, I'm not going to write this book because this book already been written." Guess what? There's an audience for you.
Yes.
And guess what? I have books at home that are like, let me tell you something. I got multiple dictionaries at home. Them dictionaries got the same words in them.
Wow.
Same words. One of them might have a little bit more, I'm going to say, yeah, they may break it down like, I think about the Bible. You might have the King James, and then you got the easy read version or whatever. But I have multiple dictionaries, and now granted, in some of the dictionaries, there may be a word that's like, wow, and it's depending on when the dictionary was produced. Maybe that word came into the American language. I don't know, or whatever. But the point of what I'm saying is, if you're copying, or if you're like, I'm not copying, but this is my story. I'm inspired by this. I'm putting my authentic self in this. Yep. And guess what? Because what we do know is people are going to talk regardless. People going to always have something to say, whether good, bad, and different.
And you can't please everybody.
You can't please everybody. And so because you can't please everybody, you might as well please you. Do you. Please God. You know what I'm saying? First, let's please God, and while we pleasing God, you do your thing. That God
I
created.
feel that way when I do my hey yous. I often think like people like you. Are people gonna think I'm trying to be like Tabitha Brown? No, that's an idea that even though I'm thinking it, and people probably do think it, it's okay. It's my spin on what God gave me to say. The hey you. I'm sure somebody else does hey yous. I don't know. I hadn't seen it. And that's what I always try to do. I try to be authentic, and I try to find stuff that other people haven't done. You know what I'm saying? So that I can make it my own. We both have a story to tell, right?
Yep.
We both have a story to tell, and we're going to tell it regardless of what anybody thinks or what anybody says. Right. This is what God has put us on this earth to do, and this is what we're going to do.
Because real talk, girl talk with R&B. Y'all, you go through the podcast, YouTube, you type in girl talk. Guess what? It's not just Rhonda and I.
It's a lot.
Right. So, but everybody has their thing. I looked at one person, the girl talk thing, and it was almost like a city girl edition. Well, we ain't city girls, you know what I'm saying? So we have our own unique way. I saw a girl talk podcast, and it was girl talk from an OBGYN's perspective. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey, girl talk ain't new. Girl talk is going to continue. You know what I'm saying? So again, we're not copying anybody. It's we are, again, the whole goal is to inspire, motivate, encourage. Yeah. And that's what they're doing. Yep. They have an audience, and sometimes the audience can mix up or whatever. But again, don't like, I don't want to do this because people, it comes down to self-assess, and be authentic.
Yep, and do
All
what
right.
God has sent you to do.
That part.
All right, so we want to leave this with you. All right, always remember that even when someone is taking your ideas that God has given to you, you have to remember what is for you, and nobody can take it away. All right, so we wanted to tell you to continue to walk in the path of greatness and don't put all of your focus on what other people are doing. As we always say, focus on you, and you will go very, very far if you can just learn to do that. All right.
Yes, I love it. It goes back to our comparison podcast.
Yep. Yes.
Stop comparing and just be you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep, I love it too. All right, guys, that's the end of this podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to push that notification bell and share. All right, until next time. Bye, guys. Hey guys, we wanted to let you know that we are published authors and you can get our books on Amazon. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journals. I have a Dear God journal, and it's a prayer journal, and it is a 60-day journal that you can write your affirmations in. Like when we were saying on all of our podcasts, you wake up and you put what you're grateful for. It's just an awesome journal that you can have, and it's also a vision board as well. Yep. And in the front of it, you can have 100 things that you need in your life. So this kind of helps you to realize what makes you happy when you're putting it down on your page. And I also have a grief journal as well. And this is a 31-day grief journal, and it has different exercises that you can do to help you through your grieving process.
Yay. All right, and then I have my book called Book of Faith, Hearing from God. And so in this book, I share personal testimonies of my experience with hearing from God. I talk about, being in a relationship that I knew was not pleasing to God, and God, blessing me with my husband. I talk about my struggles of becoming a mom, years of infertility, and how God blessed us with. We have two boys. I have an 11 and a 13-year-old now, and then I talk about a leap of faith that I took when hearing from God, and hearing God tell me that it was time to move. It definitely took a leap of faith. And also in this book, I have a 21-day devotion, because a lot of times people are like, how do I hear from God? And I'm not saying that you're going to do this 21 days and all of a sudden, but it's
hear from God.
Exactly. But it's 21 days of connecting with God, and every day that starts with the scripture. Okay. There's a motivational story, and then there's a spot where you can talk about how you can relate to this. What were your takeaways or whatever. So, Book of Faith, Hearing from God.
So guys, if you guys want to support our channel, you can go on Amazon. We will put the links down in the description, and you can purchase your books there. All right. Love you guys. Bye for now.